video, just record. It is recorded to the cloud. Okay. So it's 10 o'clock and hello everybody and welcome to the, I don't know what number this is, Covid Cookalong. Today is going to be the last one for a while, in theory. And I'm going to have to let you know because I have now been in Canada for 3 months, which means my travel insurance, which is out of Mexico where I live, is only good for 3 months at a time. And I have to go to London anyway, because I have to do the photography for my next book. But where I'm going to be quarantining in London is not exactly the place where I can do a ton of baking. So this is going to be the last one for a while. And, you know, when I'm somewhere where I can bake, I can see if there's any interest in carrying on with the Covid Cookalong. But I think with the lovely weather, maybe people are also dying to get outside. I don't know. Maybe this is something that we wait until the autumn and the cooler weather. So we can kind of think about that one. But I have had such fun with all of you in the past 3 months. And thank you so much for the people who've just come every week and learned something new to bake. And I really appreciate it. It's been very meaningful and important for me. And I hope that you have enjoyed it too and have learned some new things. So that's always important. And we have a comment from Janet who says, this has been great and you've got my son baking too. Janet, that's kind of you. I'm guessing that you've got him baking. So, so well done you.
I'm still baking.
My oven. Oops, hold on. So we were just having a conversation about the dough and how everyone found the dough. That the Libyan dough, which turns out wonderful bread, is indeed very, very soft. It's very moist, and if you have, we're going to shape it, and that pretty much goes, you know, can go straight into the oven actually because it's so fermenty. We are going to shape it, but if you find that you can't be bothered, quite frankly, you can use 2 spoons and kind of blob it onto the tray rather than trying to shape it. That works just as well. Sometimes they're a bit flat when that happens, but they're still super delicious. But what I wanted to do first, before I did that, is I have got some pita breads. And okay, we have another comment from Sue to everyone, which is lovely. And Sue says, it's been great. And Martin says, can't agree more. Yay. So glad that you've had a lovely time. So I've shaped some pitas and I did them in advance. Here they are here so that I can just, you know, start dealing with them while we're still on the call. Okay. So they are there. And what I wanted to do is the first dough I want to work with is the pita breads. And then we'll move to the Libyan bread. And then we'll move back to the pita breads. So the pita dough, right, it's here. And oh, before I even start, we've worked with almost exclusively with white flour. How did anyone find working with wholemeal?
Loved it.
Yeah, fine.
I'm enjoying it.
Who was that?
That's Jeanette.
Ah, Jeanette, excellent. Jeanette is here from Eastern Canada. So wholemeal flour, it's different.
I have to tell you, every Sunday I bring a piece or 2 of what I've been baking to my elderly aunt, and she has been thrilled with your bread.
Excellent. Well, with your bread, not with my bread. Oh, I'm so glad. I am so glad. Lizard, you're here with your super long hair. Yay. It's unbelievable. I have never seen Liz with such long hair. So, okay, we're going to start with the pita bread dough. What I find with wholemeal dough, I love kneading wholemeal dough, and depending on how the dough is milled, it's really going to turn out a completely different loaf. And it's really in the wholemeal, I think, that you can taste the difference between different bags of flour, different brands of flour. You know, how it's milled, where it's grown, the varietal that's used. It really, if you want to taste test flour, go and buy yourself 3 or 4 different bags of different brands of wholemeal flour bake them in exactly the same way, and try them, and you'll see an extraordinary difference in flavor. Wholemeal can absorb more water than white, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it absorbs less water than white. So you're always having to adjust no matter what you do. The dough for the pita bread is a reasonably dry dough. I mean, it's not super, super dry. It's not a super hard knead like bagels, if you remember, was a really hard knead. But it's drier than a lot of doughs. So what we're going to do now, and I'm going to turn the camera down. Oops. Okay, wait, the camera's falling off its perch. There it is. Okay, so I want to divide this. I think 100 grams is a pretty good size for pita bread. And remember that 100 grams is a portion of bread. It's like 2 slices of bread. So 100 grams in a pita is a nice shape. And here's my scale. Here, oops, get that off. Okay, it's telling me it's up. There we go, 0. So,
sorry, can I just ask a question?
Of course.
I've got
doing it on the Zoom.
my dough to rise. It's got like
Hold on. Sorry. I'm going to turn everybody on
the camera
mute.
keeps falling.
Wait 1 second.
You want us to go on mute?
She's having the same issues.
I would like everybody to go on mute.
Okay.
Participants, mute all. There. Now, if you want to ask a question, sorry, you can take yourself off mute to ask. So I'm not sure who is asking the question, but whoever was, take yourself off mute and ask away.
Sorry, Jane. When after I left my dough to rise, it's got like a hard coating on it.
Did you cover it when you let it rise?
With a tea towel.
Okay, did you let it rise all night, or did you let it just rise for a couple of hours?
Just a couple of hours.
Oh, okay. Interesting that it would have a hard coating on it. Just fold it in. Just kind of knead it in. It's not gonna be terrible. But it might be a salient lesson to try and cover it with plastic wrap or something in the future. Yeah, just kind of fold it in. So I have got, and I think I told you, I made a few of these before. Okay, so now I have divided my dough into blobs. Okay, here are the blobs. And, I need to turn that down again. Okay, so now we've done this drill before. And remember, you're working with a pretty dry dough now. So at this point, you don't want any flour on the counter. Out of your blob, you can either, remember, you can do the stretch and fold, right? So you've cut it, just stretch and fold it, roll it up a bit, and then remember, do this or do this, as we've done so many times in our Covid Cookalongs. So you have your little bun that's nice and firm, like a little footstool, okay? And you've got the swirly whirly on the bottom where it sort of adhered to the counter as you were rolling it up. So that's one thing you can do, and I'll do that again. You just stretch and fold it all the way around. Try not to break the dough. If you do, it is not a drama.
Jane, can I ask, why do you have to stretch and fold like that? I don't think I did.
You don't. You absolutely don't. So this is one way of shaping. Okay. So it's literally just one way. Okay. If you're dealing with bigger size, like a big boule or a big loaf, you're going to have to stretch and fold it in order to be able to manage it. But with a bun, you don't have to, because you can manage it, right? Just like this. The other way that we shaped in the past. Now, this one you're going to find with the dry dough, it doesn't stick so well to the counter as the really wet doughs that we've done. So it could be that you need to go to 2 hands. Okay, and when you're going,
I've just shown you. because it happened before on other things. I've got like a pattern in the bottom, obviously from having pulled and pushed it, and then So can I leave that, or do, because there's like slices? I mean, it's fine the other side.
Show me the pattern on the bottom. Let me find you, Sabine. Hang on. Show me the pattern. I still have to find you. Sorry, I'm scrolling through. Okay, that's a little bit loose. That's not dreadful. So there's mine. Sabine, look.
Okay.
Okay, so what you want to do, Bean, let me show you. I'm going to tilt the camera down, and that's because it's dry. Okay, and that's precisely the reason you never want any more flour on the counter. Watch what I'm doing here, Sabine.
Yeah.
So I'm taking my hands right underneath and squishing the dough between my little fingers here. And okay, now of course I'm going to stick to it because I took my time to do it.
Yeah.
And get the dough off my hands. But if you do it a bit more quickly and just watch me, okay, you want to get your hands together, pin it down with your thumb so the bottom stays on the bottom, and keep doing that and really squish it together underneath, squish it together between your fingers so that you just get like a little belly button.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my last one. And again, you don't have to stretch and fold it. If you can get it into a nice shape this way, or if it's dry, right, and you're not getting any stick on the table, which you need in order for the dough to wrap itself around the bun, just do it with your two hands. Pin it down with your thumb and squish it together between your hands like that. See? Like that. Super. So once you've got your balls of dough, you are going to let those rest under a tea towel. It's very tea towel intensive. Okay. And you want them to rest for about 5 minutes, just because they need to soften up in order for you to roll them out with any kind of ease. So now I'm going to take my previous ones and I'm going to just push them over here. And now I'm going to come to the super soft. This is the Libyan dough, okay?
Yeah.
And it's very, very soft. There's like a streak of paprika in there. And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to give this a bit of a stretch and fold in the bowl because it's sloppy. And what that does is it just tightens it up. Imagine folding a piece of paper, right? If you have a piece of paper, it's not at all rigid. You couldn't carry a cup of tea on a piece of paper. But if you fold it, I think there's something amazing, like you can only fold a piece of paper 9 times. I don't know where I got that statistic. You know, maybe it's 12, maybe it's 6. But imagine if you fold a piece of paper enough times, you are able to balance a cup of tea on it because you're doubling the tensile strength. So whenever you fold and stretch your dough, you're actually making it stronger so that it's easier to manage. I'm going to pull it out and blob it on the counter. So let me just get into, here's my tray. And again, with this one, if you want to measure, for this, I mean, again, between 75 and 100 grams is a decent amount for a bun. Anything bigger is pretty big, in my view. But, you know, you might like nice, honking, great big pieces of bread, which is totally fine. So, again, we've measured a lot of buns over the past 12 weeks. So just, you will know what you've learned about your preferences. That's 120, it's a bit big. 97. Okay, so what I wanted to show you with these, you can keep on measuring this. Okay, 105. Let me just measure out 6. It's a bit boring otherwise. 120. Okay, and you can do that. The other thing you can do, so you can literally use 2 spoons, okay? And let me get this out of the way. This is far less precise, obviously, but it's an option. Can you see my tray? Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Literally, you can pick up a blob of dough. If you wanted to pick up one of these, you can pick up one of the ones that you measured, okay? And kind of, you know, do that fancy as if you were trying to mold, I don't know, things that you try to mold if you watch cookery programs, okay? And you can literally, if you want to, just blob that on the tray. Try to stack it up a bit, okay? So let me show you what that looks like. It looks like that. It's not going to bake evenly. But if you can't really be bothered to try and shape this dough because it's so wet, that's an option, okay? Alternatively, Okay, so I'll do another one. Okay, this is just, I just grabbed it off. Okay. Okay, so let's just do a couple of those, just so that you can see what they look like, okay, when they're done. Okay, so I've got 3 of those, and then I'm going to dispense with the spoons and find my scale again. Okay. I'm just going to,
Jane,
yeah.
sorry, I have another question. If on the pita bread, if I don't want to make all of them now, can I just put the half of the dough back in the fridge covered with cling film
When are you planning on making them?
tomorrow?
Yes, you might find you're a bit overproofed, even in the oven, just because it's so hot. I mean, even in the fridge, I beg your pardon, just because it's so hot in England. I've been talking to a lot of the bakers recently, and they're saying that even in the fridge, things are moving pretty fast. So your other option, Sabine, is baking them and freezing them.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are with our super wet piece of dough here. Okay, I'm going to flour my hand. Or what you could do is put a little tiny bit of flour on the top. Remember, you never want any more flour on the bottom. Once your hand is floured, okay, same deal. Barely touch the top. Keep flouring your hand. There's no way.
Jane, this is Jeanette. Why is it so important to not have flour on the bottom?
You need the dough to stick. Whether it's right, you need it to stick to the surface. Dry dough, sticky dough. If it moves around, you can't get the tension that you need to make it round.
Of course.
And try it. I mean, by all means. So you see, nice round bun. Taking it off with the other scraper.
I've got another technical question.
Yeah.
Sometimes you say cling-free or saran wrap. Or plastic wrap, and sometimes you say shower cap. Is there a difference?
No, shower cap is something hilarious. Shower cap works really, really, really well. But you know, you don't always have a shower cap to hand, and you don't need fancy shower caps. You can order them on Amazon for next to nothing. You know, the kind that you would get from a hotel.
Right.
The reason a shower cap is great is because it's airtight. Okay. And if you're baking some things that would have a sticky top, the shower cap also gives you air headroom, you know, so you can put it around the edge of a tin and puff it up, so there's room for the dough to rise.
So no difference. I can use one or the other.
Yes, you can.
They have the same thing.
So how is everybody doing at shaping these buns? And because the dough is so soft, it's not fragile by any means, it's just soft, right? See, blob, very floury hand, no downward pressure at all, absolutely none. And if you stick halfway through, flour your hand again. Okay, there's absolutely no downward pressure when you're shaping a bun like this, just making your hand go around. How's everybody doing?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so there's our other one. Okay. And I love the feel of this dough. I just think it's so glorious. Okay. And some people will also notice there are times to wet your hands when you're shaping, and there are times to flour your hands. And it's very interesting. It's completely different. When you're working with rye, you use wet hands. Always when you're working with rye and you don't want to stick to it. has a completely different structure and texture. But when you're working with some of these very soft doughs, again, you need to be able to get purchase on the dough in order to shape it. So you really do need the flour on your hand versus the water. I'm just going to wash my hands over here. Okay. I'm just going to do one thing. I'll be right back. Okay. So I don't know. So if everybody looks at, so they're the ones that have been shaped by rolling, and there are 3 here that are just blobbed. And I'm going to pop these in the oven now. The oven's up at quite a high heat. I'm going to put them in there for 20 minutes. And I'm going to clean off this tray a bit to get the gunk off. How's everybody doing? Are people at the stage where they've got the first bread in the oven?
About there, close.
Okay. Excellent. Scrapers also come in handy for scraping down your surface. Okay. Groovy. Oh, we don't have our lovely DJ today, sadly. Can't quite remember where she's. Oh, I know, she's making a table. So she sent a message and said, "I'm so sorry, I'm making a table." Okay, now we've left our other dough. If you remember, here they are, right? Our little pita bread balls. And those have been left now for about 5 minutes, so they will have softened up. So what you now need to do with those, and we're back to how we did the tortillas, if you remember. But remember, the tortilla dough has no yeast, so big difference. Now here, because you're rolling, you're going to need flour down and on the top. Not a ton. Again, you don't want any more flour in the dough. You just need it to not stick. Let me move these, right? Totally different from the bun, which you need to stick to the surface in order to roll it around. And here, working with a rolling pin, I'm just going to roll this out. Again, to get it really round, try to move the bread, the dough, rather than the direction of the rolling pin. Okay, so that, I'm going to show you how thin that is, okay? So there's an idea of how thin it is. It's maybe 1/4 centimeter. It's not like thin like a piece of paper, but it's thin, okay? And just pop it somewhere where it's not going to stick, right? No matter how you're going to make it in the end, whether you're going to fry it or you're going to bake it, you need to have it on a surface now where it can rest and not stick when you want to move it around.
Jane, can you put it straight on your baking sheet?
As long as it doesn't stick.
Right, yeah.
So this is on, it's on non-stick baking parchment, and it won't stick to that. Your baking sheet, you may want to put some flour on it or some semolina.
Well, no, I've got the non-stick, so it should be okay then.
As dough, it may not be okay, just warning you.
Okay.
It might be, don't know. Okay, there's another one. Need a bit more flour. Oh, it's funny. I buy my flour here from a mill. They mill. It's an organic stone ground mill here, just a couple of hours away from my parents. And this wholemeal flour has you know, kind of bits of oat in it. So they clearly did. They were grinding oats or doing something with oats, making oat flour on the run before this, because there are these few little grains of oats. Okay, so there are my remaining 5 pitas, and I'm going to just cover them with a cloth.
Is it a dry cloth or a wet cloth?
It's a dry cloth. And let me just get this down. So pitas, as you have figured out, versus something like a chapati, which is an Indian flatbread, or a tortilla, the pita has yeast. You know, chapatis and tortillas don't. What does that mean? It means that they last a little bit longer, right? Because at a microscopic level, the bread itself, you know, irrespective of the puff, has little tiny holes in it. And it's the little tiny holes that actually make it last longer. You know, it's softer for longer than a tortilla, which goes hard very, very quickly. And the chapati as well, which goes hard very, very quickly. Still, with a pita bread, you may want to wrap them up in a cloth as they come out of the oven, just to keep them soft. As I said in the recipe, what I do is I take a pair of scissors, literally, and cut them open so that I can make the pocket, and then I'll wrap them up in a cloth. Because if you don't do that, they just, you know, they'll go down again, and they just turn into a flatbread roll that you then have to kind of excavate with a knife, which is a bit more irritating. So as they come out of the oven, if you take some scissors or a knife to them, cut them round, and just make sure that they're separated. When they cool down, it'll be easier to excavate.
Is it a dry cloth or a damp cloth you wrap it in?
Oh, when they come out of the oven, you wrap it in a dry cloth, just to keep them soft. That's all. But you know, I don't know about you guys. When you buy, I don't ever buy pitas from the store. But when you buy pitas from the store, what do people do? Do people toast them? What do people do? You toast them.
We halve them and put them in the toaster.
Right.
And then they blow up, and then
okay.
You know, you can fill them.
So
well, they're good in the microwave. As long as you're very strict on timing and don't overdo them.
I don't have a microwave, so that can't help me, but it can help. So what would be the timing, Suki, in the microwave?
Oh, under 10 seconds.
Okay.
Because otherwise they get very hard.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay, how's everybody doing? Is everybody fine? I'm gathering you're all fine.
Mine are in the oven.
Which are in the oven? Oh, look at those, Bob. Those are fabulous.
I'm still rolling my pita, almost done.
That's okay, because they have to rest, right? The pitas need to rest before they go in the oven. So, you know, we're not going to get through that in this call anyway. But what I did want to do is show you how you can do them on the top if you want. So I'm going to put on.
Jane, can I have one more question?
Yeah.
With the rolled out pitas, it's quite hot, as you said, in the UK. We've got 26 degrees, 27 degrees up here in my kitchen.
20 minutes.
No. So do I just put them downstairs where it's cooler for the 45 minutes?
No, just leave them there, but don't. They'll probably be 20, 25 minutes to be ready for the oven rather than 45.
And what's the temperature of the oven? Sorry, I'm just being lazy, not looking it up.
You're being super lazy. I'd need to go and look it up. It's probably 230.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I put them on. Thank you.
Okay. So what I've done, I'm now going to take you over. Hang on. I'm going to take you over here to a different place in the kitchen, because you can, as I said, you can do these on the surface. in a frying pan, just like you do tortillas and just like some of you did your English muffins, right? You can also do pitas on the top, which is quite fun if you are going for a barbecue, for example, or you're having a cookout, for example. You can actually bake bread, which is always exciting. Now I'm going to put a tiny scrape of oil in this pan. And you need to get the pan really hot.
Is it a non-stick pan?
It's a non-stick pan, but I'm still just going to put a little bit of oil.
Yeah.
So the trick is to get the pan really, really hot. And it, you know, it may not work with your first pita. Your first pita may not. You want to get it hot, and then like the English muffins, turn it slightly down so that they don't burn. It's a faster job than an English muffin. Okay. Let's put 2 in here. Okay. There we go. And you want to do them like for about 4 or 5 minutes and then turn them over. And you'll know if your pan is too hot, quite frankly, if they start burning. So it's for me, it's like way easier to do them in the oven. You can do them all at once. But if you wanted an adventure and you wanted to try them on the frying pan, please do. And then, you know, you can always have, you know, kind of weird pita bread hamburger buns for your next barbecue. That's fun. Okay. So I'm going to set a timer. There we go. So, and the other thing is it's, no, it's not really the yeast in these that causes them to puff up. So I can see they're already puffing. I'm sure that's something the camera can't. Let me, if I turn that off, is that better? Not really. But I don't want to like drop my camera in the pan. Can you see that they're puffing?
I can see the bubble, yeah.
So that's exciting.
Otherwise we take your word for it.
Yes, I can see the bubble.
Okay, good. So, okay, and the bubble's growing. It's super exciting. It's super weird. Like if you've got kids, this is the moment to include them. Okay, I'm going to hold this here so you can see it. I don't know if light on is better. Is that better or worse? I don't know. See the bubble? And the bubble's growing and growing.
Yes, see the bubble.
Isn't that awesome? It's so awesome. It's so great. So who else is going to try the pan? And remember, most of you are on mute. So if you want everyone to hear you, you need to take yourself off mute. So who else is going to try the frying pan? We're going to try the frying pan, Jane. Oh, I wish you could see this. It's just the definition is so great, but it's really hilarious. Let's see.
Have you been timing it in the pan or just by looking?
Oh, I have it timed. Where is this? Oh, wait, here we go. There. Okay, look. I have it.
So what do you do when you flip them over? Because they poke.
And it's side. What do I do? Just flip them over.
Okay.
Do you poke it? No, you don't poke it. You just flip it over.
Okay.
Okay, so who else is going to try the pan? This one's super puffed up. It's amazing.
Well, they both look amazing.
They're hilarious. Okay.
How long on each side? I missed that, I think.
I'm doing about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, let me turn that around. There you go. Okay, bird's eye view of the pan. Okay, so I'm getting, let me check on here. Yeah, okay.
Jane, can you go over the prep for the pan again?
Oh, I just did a lick of olive oil. A lick.
Right. Okay.
And then what you want is you want the pan to be very, very, very hot when you put in the pita bread, and then turn it down to like medium, high, medium, because you don't want them to burn, but they need to hit that very, very high heat.
Okay, I might try a couple.
So you can see I flipped mine. And now they're just cooking on the other side. And they do need to cook. You know, you need to cook them. You don't want them to be doughy. Because they're only kind of 8 to 10 minutes in an oven. So they're only about 8 minutes in a pan. And then I'm going to get yet another tea towel.
I'm going to do one too, just to try.
Fun.
Well, the question is, do they taste different out of the pan or the oven?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Just like anything that's dry roasted, always tastes a little bit different. A little bit more charred.
Mm.
There, I squashed them down a bit so that they would actually not just be balancing on the top of a bubble, if you know what I mean, but the bubble's still there.
Look fantastic, Jane.
They are fun, aren't they? Oh, okay, so these, see you look here, see how it balanced a little bit too long on just the top of the bubble?
Yeah.
So when you flip them, squash them down so that they, and also make sure that that pan isn't still on super, super high. Otherwise they'll just burn before they cook on the inside. And you can always, again, you can always stuff a thermometer in there in a moment when I turn it on. Okay, you can always stuff a thermometer in there. Just remember, when you do, you're stuffing it into a pocket normally, and steam is always going to be much hotter than anything else. If you remember from your physics classes, steam is super, super, super hot. So these have now been about 4 minutes aside. So I'm going to take them out, and I'm going to put them straight into a cloth, which is over here. So here's my cloth, and I'm going to wrap them up in this cloth so that they go soft. Okay, and then I'll just, while we're here, I'll do a couple more in the pan. And I've turned it down to medium, like a medium flame. And, okay. And let me look at these. Okay, the ones in there are lovely. The other thing you can do with your Libyan buns when they come out of the oven is you can brush the tops of them with olive oil. I'll think I'll do that. That's always pretty. It's always really pretty to do that. And it does make them go a little bit of a darker color. So, oh, see, they're popping up already in the pan. Just, it's hilarious. Sorry, it makes me smile. And that's a nice thing these days.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. How else is anyone doing? Remember, I can't hear most of you because most of you are on mute, but you can take yourselves off mute. If you have a question or just a comment, or if you want to show off your buns and draw our attention to them, do take yourselves off mute. Okay, so I've got 1 minute left on my buns that are in the oven, the Libyan buns. And I will pull those out of the oven and brush them with olive oil. How's anyone else doing on their Libyan buns?
Well, it's still a few minutes off.
And is anyone else having puffy success in a frying pan? Oh, some of you might
Yeah.
not have been there yet.
Yes, I am.
Is it just hilarious?
Yes.
See, there you go. And sorry, what I should have done, let me just show you this as well. So remember that these are hot, okay? These guys that have come out of the frying pan are hot. So you're gonna have to hold them, you know, with some kind of pot holder or oven glove. Take some scissors or a knife, doesn't matter, and cut round, not the whole thing,
Yeah.
but I cut about half. Then you might want to get in there just with a regular kitchen knife, like nothing sharp, and just make sure that you loosen, make sure the pocket is formed. Let me just turn that off.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, just you want to make sure that pocket is formed so that it doesn't, you know, you don't have to see. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so there, everybody.
And then how do you keep?
Pita bread.
And how do you keep them fresh?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
If you don't eat,
wrap them,
if you
wrap them in the cloth. Wrap me in
Okay.
the cloth. Wrap me
afterwards
in the
too.
cloth.
Okay.
Okay, now let me just get these out of the oven. Lord, it's all happening at once. Okay, so they're off. Now, I'm gonna just do this first. Timer. Let me flip these over. So I'm gonna flip these in the pan and then squash it down. Okay, flip it in the pan and get in there, squash it down. Okay, now let me show you these guys here. Come with me. Come with me. Okay. So here are the buns that just came out of the oven. So I want to point out this one, right? So these three here are the three that I just blobbed on the tray. Okay.
They look lovely.
Totally
Yeah.
fine. And here, these are the ones that I rolled into bun shapes. So, you know, it's up to you. You can blob them on a tray and you're going to get something slightly flatter, I beg your pardon, and a bit wonky, right? That one's a bit Wonksville, right? Or you can roll and get something a bit more uniform. So I'm going to put these on the...
But they're definitely darker than mine.
Okay. It could just be the oven bean.
Yeah.
So put them on the cooling rack. Ow, I'm going to put you back in your cradle here. Hang on. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, ow, not enough space. No, here is brush some olive oil. So you can see, okay, so here's, okay, so just brush them with a little bit of oil. That oil will get absorbed into the bun. And it will darken them slightly and give them a nice shine. And obviously flavor. And you want to do this while they're hot so that the oil does get kind of a bit absorbed into the bun. Don't do it when they're cold because then it just sits on top. Oop. Okay. Now I need to wait for 1 second. I need to grab these guys out of here. And I'm putting the final 2 pitas in the frying pan. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna doing a couple things here at once, but let me just tilt this up so that once again, here's this one, remember? Wrap it in the cloth, wrap it in the cloth. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap that one in the cloth, and then I'm gonna cut open the other ones. So handy scissors and handy kitchen knife going somewhere. There's always another one. And remember, they're hot. Sorry, putting everything down at the moment. So, oops, somebody's dog. Just cut them with scissors here, and then take your kitchen knife. And remember, they've already puffed up. But what you want to do is make sure that the layers don't stick together. Because remember, bread is gummy, that the layers don't stick together. Okay, and then once you've done that, pop it in the cloth. Scissors, kitchen knife, and you'll really notice the difference. Like even if you know, but the difference between the first one you do, which will be very easy to excavate that pocket, to the last one you do, where the dough has already started to stick itself together, you'll notice a really big difference. So, you know, do work reasonably quickly.
Okay, mine haven't puffed up that much, so it's really hard to
excavate. Do it with a sharp knife then. Just do it with a sharp knife. Do it with a little tiny bread knife. So, Sabine, was your pan very, very hot? Should be.
Yeah, because, you know, look, they're quite.
Okay, so it could be, if they didn't puff up, it could be that you hadn't left them long enough. It could be. Usually it's a function, because remember, tortillas don't have any, and chapatis don't have any yeast at all, and they still puff up. So it could be a function of how thinly it was rolled, heat of the pan. I think the more that you do, you know, you might get a bit braver about squashing it a bit flatter. Because remember, the yeast will always recover within reason. Okay. There we go. So those are my, okay. Didn't want that. So there are my buns, all covered with a little coating of olive oil, so they look really nice. Okay, and here are the first few pitas, okay, wrapped up and with their pocket. So I'm gonna keep them wrapped to keep them nice, and here are these guys in the pan, and I'm gonna flip them now. Okay, so flip, press the air out, flip, press the air out. That one I actually even, it's fine, probably opened itself up. Okay, and I'll put them on for another few minutes. And then for me, these are the ones for me that are still rising. Now it's not that hot here, so I am actually going to give them a full, 45 minutes to rise before I put them in the oven. So I'm going to put you guys back here. There. So are there any questions or comments while I eat an olive? From anyone?
Oh, a question about your bun book, Jane, and whether you use sourdough recipes or recipes.
Okay, so the Book of Buns is not a sourdough book at all. But I mean, as we've talked about, it's super easy to convert the recipes, especially if you're using the rye starter. So like I use the rye starter to do all of the breads here today because I had to refresh my rye starter. So these guys are just done with a rye starter. So as long as you're using that rye starter, it's very, very easy. Remember, double the fresh yeast amount, take a bit of the flour, take a bit of the liquid, leave it overnight, and then crack on with the recipe. It kind of works every time.
Okay, thank you.
Have you had success with that so far?
Jane, are you reprinting your sourdough book?
Sorry, say that again?
Are you reprinting your sourdough book?
It's sadly not up to me. I don't own the rights.
Right.
And many people have written to the publisher to ask, me included, and never hear anything back, which is really sad. The publisher for the sourdough book is different from the publisher of my first 2 books. And I think it's a shame because honestly, it's a great book, the sourdough book, but you know, out of print makes it unaffordable. Okay, so I'm going to off. Right, I'm going to cut my remaining pitas. Okay, I'm going to turn you. No, I'm not. There we go. So take scissors. Always hold them away from you because remember, you can burn yourself with the steam. And then get in there with the knife and wrap it up in the cloth. Okay. Second one. And I mean, obviously doing them in the oven is way more convenient because you can do, you know, however many you can fit onto a tray. Whereas the frying pan, I mean, it's very funny. I don't have a central Mexico gas, stove have this thing like a metal plate that everybody has in a cooker to warm tortillas, you know? And so you have a lot more room. You have a bigger kind of implement to use. So let's see, has anyone else got fruits of their labor yet? Let's see it. Let's hold up your buns if you've got them and tell me.
I put mine back in the oven because I think they were undercooked.
Were they undercooked after 20 minutes? They weren't ready?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But on the other hand, the one I cut open was twice the size. But it's very tasty.
Good. Anyone else? How are you doing? Oh, very nice. Okay. Sue is showing us her pita breads. Are you happy with those, Sue? We can't hear you, but I saw you nod.
Yes, they're made from granary.
Oh, beautiful. And Bob showing us his beautiful Libyan buns. That's nice. And everybody else, I can't see you. You've turned your videos off.
I'll show you mine.
Okay.
Are you seeing them?
Lovely. Are you taking some of those to your aunt today?
Yes, I will.
Good.
Delicious. What did you put in yours?
I put in olives, spring onion, fresh marjoram from the garden, and fresh thyme from the garden. And I put in some ground cumin and some ground coriander and some paprika. How about you?
I had the olives and the green onion. In fact, I did this at 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. And I had forgotten to make them. And I added some za'atar, which I had.
Za'atar's great.
And it's delicious.
What did anyone else put in theirs?
I put in olives and rosemary.
Mm,
So black olives and rosemary, fresh rosemary.
nice. And Bob, we've seen yours, so now you need to tell us what you put inside. But you need to take yourself off of mute.
I regret to say I didn't put anything in. I've got them basic.
Excellent. You just made a basic bun. It's delicious.
Yep. I haven't yet tried it.
Oh, okay. So you can't tell us definitively, but you think it is.
Looks nice. I'm not sure they're cooked though.
Okay. It's a very, very wet dough, but you know.
Very tasty.
What's the verdict, Bob?
They don't seem cooked. They're a bit soggy inside.
A bit doughy? As long as you can try shoving them back in for another 5 minutes. They've been out for long.
Yeah, will do.
How about anyone else? How are you doing?
Well, I've still got mine that I made this morning, which is the Lebanese buns. Sorry.
They're wonderful.
So, and then I've got a final 3 in the oven as we speak. So I'm going to brush them with olive oil.
Excellent. Oh, they look super.
But I had them in as well, like 25 minutes minimum.
Okay, so they needed a bit longer. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. So
Well, listen, everybody. We've got 4 minutes left.
Yep.
Are there any Q&As? This is going to be our last COVID cook-along for a while. Once again, thank you so much for being on the past 11. I think we've had with me. It's been really important for me, and
Thank you for letting me join.
Super happy to have been able to, you know, get people baking, trying different things, maybe doing things they're not so familiar with. And really the most important thing has been experimenting with all sorts of different dough textures so that you can see there's no one right texture, you know, and everything works out. You know, even with the crazy soft doughs, like we did the, you know, the hot cross buns, really soft dough. Today's dough was really soft. The pretzel dough was kind of medium, you know, so we've worked with a lot of different doughs and a lot of different methods, and thank you for participating. And I'm glad to have seen you all week after week.
Thank you, Jane. It's been fabulous.
It's been lovely. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for letting me join late to the party.
Bye.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
We miss it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much, Jane.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye, Jane. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
When are you going to London?
Oh, well, it's a bit of a movable feast. In theory,
Okay.
Sunday, but, you know, flights are not exactly certain.
Okay. Keep in touch.
Will do. Bye, everyone.
Bye.